like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Burns, could you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Sullivan?
Present.
Mr. Feather?
Here.
Mr. Allen?
Present.
Mrs. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Boyle?
Here.
Mrs. Hollenbach?
Present.
Mr. Kovitz?
Present.
Mr. Marrington is absent with prior notice. Mr. Parentano?
Present.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for the victims in Parkland, Florida.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters of employment and potential or current litigation. The Neshaminy District mission statement is the Neshaminy community builds futures by empowering each child to become a productive citizen and a lifelong learner. Mrs. Burns, any announcements?
No announcements.
Thank you. Brings us to our superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. I added actually to my superintendent's report online a whole list of winter sport, high school winter sport accomplishments. They're all there. They're posted now. There probably are too many to even read. But from girls cheerleading, PIA state championship in January, and just this weekend crowned the winners at the Reach the Beach National Championship in Maryland, all the way through boys basketball competing tonight at Conestoga to continue on in the state playoffs, girls playing into the state playoffs, girls basketball, wrestling. We had a champion win at the sectionals, moving on to Southeast Regionals, all the way across the board. It's just really been an exciting time in the high school, and I asked A.D. Maggs if he could at least give us a snapshot there. So that's been added to my superintendent's report. Other things of interest, I think, are the fact that at Buck, Mrs. Robb's first grade class was able to do a really neat science experiment detailed in the report. But the nice thing about it is it was done as a result of funding that she was able to obtain through the grant from the Neshaminy Education Foundation. So I know that we have at least one, if not more, members of that foundation here in our audience tonight, and it's nice to kind of see the work of that group, what they're able to do to support educators, and that was one clear example of our first grade students, and other students here also benefit from that group. Congratulations to a couple of teachers. Justin Bursk is an art teacher doing phenomenal work, as many of our all across the district art teachers do. He happened to be selected as an artist as educators exhibit. His art was selected for that exhibit, but along with that, he was able to place 2 students' artwork as well. So right now at the Tyler School of Art at Temple University, Mr. Burks, as well as Juliet Murphy, kindergarten, and Eli Werbach, first grade, have their artwork up, displayed. There was an open house on Sunday. It was a great opportunity for them to celebrate art here at Neshaminy and to be spotlighted there at the Tyler School of Art. Miller Elementary celebrated the Winter Olympics. Many of our schools celebrated the Olympics in a lot of neat ways, whether it be math, geography, physical education. We were able to incorporate the Olympics into our educational program, as we do with a lot of current events that occur across the community, across the nation, that's across the world. Tawanka celebrated 100 days, but all of our elementary schools celebrated 100 days. Tawanka's was nice because our kindergarten kids came in dressed up like what they thought a 100-year-old person looks like. Really cute photos. You have to follow our Facebook because a lot of these are actually on our Facebook with some wonderful images as well. 100 days is an exciting time for our young elementary students, and so Tawanka got into the swing of that. Congratulations to Maple Point. They made the list this month, but almost every month we have schools who do good work in the community. Maple Point has had an annual event for the Ronald McDonald House. They sell red and white striped socks and scarves, and this year they collected close to $1,300, and that's going to support families who have to stay overnight at the Ronald McDonald House, and so it's been an ongoing effort on the part of the community here. And like I said, just a great example of many good things happening across the district. Rusty Kudic was he was the state champion, I didn't read that, this winter, indoor state champion 3,000-meter run. He's had a phenomenal fall, phenomenal winter, and now named the Gatorade Boys Cross Country Pennsylvania Player of the Year. We're going to miss him because he's not going to be here next year. He's going to be running for Georgetown University. Congratulations to Rusty. And then finally, Gym Night. Big event here at Neshaminy this weekend, but not many tickets anymore. Doc McGee says there's been a steady progression of more and more students who are participating, upwards to 1,300 students now. A good close to 50%, if not more than 50% of our student body participating. And so as a result, fewer and fewer tickets exist for others from outside the school to join, and so there is a simulcast opportunity. Tickets on sale at the high school main office, $5. That will be in the auditorium. They're trying to sell it as a softer seat, less heat, easier crowd. Those are the bright spots. Those doors open at 6 p.m. on Saturday evening, 11:30 Saturday afternoon. The Friday evening show will not be simulcast. I'm not sure why, but I'm letting you know that. And please note that there's no movement between the gym and the auditorium. Auditorium's your home for that night if you're going to the simulcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I believe we have no presentation, so that brings us to public comment. And due to the fact that we have, looks like, more than our normal one speaker tonight, I'm actually going to read the board policy as to public participation at board meetings. All regular and special meetings of the board shall be open to the public. Since the board desires to be a good listener and be responsive to the community, persons desiring to address the board may do so during the time so allotted on the agenda and according to established procedures. During the audience portion of each board meeting, members of the public are invited by the president to speak for, against, any proposal on the agenda or any other school concern. At the discretion of the board president, board members or appropriate administrators may respond to questions from the public. The individual is asked to identify him or herself, the area in which she lives, and occupation. Please limit comments to 3 minutes and avoid discussing personalities. Additional process time matters. Speakers will be called to the podium in the following order: residents and taxpayers of this school district who wish to speak on agenda items, residents and taxpayers of the school district who wish to speak on non-agenda items, and others who wish to speak on agenda items. Any additional topic and/or comment by a non-resident or person who does not pay the Neshaminy School District tax may be presented to the board in written form, directed to the office of the superintendent, or by email. There will be a 1-hour limit to public comment at the beginning of the meeting. When all those who have registered to speak have been heard, or others may speak, time permitting. There will be an additional period for public comment, limited to 3 minutes per speaker, prior to adjournment. Registered speakers who have not spoken will have the opportunity to speak first and use 3 minutes. They will be counted as first session speakers. No speaker may speak more than once during each comment period. The board is very interested in audience comments. The board will listen to and research, if necessary, all audience comments. Any additional follow-up will occur through district administrators. Should matters presented be of a controversial nature, the board may refer them to the proper committee or hold them for inclusion on the agenda of a subsequent meeting. Mrs. Burns, first speaker.
Jennifer Boughton.
Sorry. Okay. Good evening, board. My comments are, did I get it? I'm sorry. Hi. My name's Jennifer Boughton. I reside in Langhorne, and by profession, I'm an internal auditor. My comments are around the Mass Neshaminy agenda item. Just some notes here. Mass Neshaminy was granted a charter by the state after the CAB unanimously voted against the Neshaminy School District, with the decision standing through to the Commonwealth and Supreme Courts. The current vote before the board is about the property and the property only. This is a necessary update as the original proposed locations are no longer available. I'm hopeful that the board can vote and acknowledge that this location so that Mass can prepare to open the charter. Some of the reasons I think Mass needs to move forward. Mass has won a National Blue Ribbon Award this year and was named an exemplar school by P21, which is a national STEM organization. Mass has a strong reputation and offers an alternative to Neshaminy. Mass is a leader and model in offering STEM opportunities to students. Mass Neshaminy at Oxford Valley could open up opportunities to drive business there and by affect our community. Students could have the ability to work at the mall, perhaps partnerships offering business internships. As many as 160 to 180 jobs could be created over the 5-year Mass Neshaminy startup in operations. Neshaminy has also seen declining enrollment, and as a blue ribbon STEM school coming into the district, it could attract families. Mass is only looking for a change of location approval. Unless there's issues with the site, the board has no reason not to approve the location. Neshaminy has taken this through 3 courts and appeals processes, and I don't see why further taxpayer money and, quite frankly, student funding should be spent on frivolous legal expenses. If this site is approved, Mass can begin renovations with a chance to open next year. If the site is not approved and the district causes further delays, Mass Neshaminy could continue this legal fight, tying up Neshaminy's time and resources, costing taxpayers more for a charter that's already been approved. Neshaminy hasn't outperformed Mass. This is an option many in the community support. It has already been approved and needs to move forward. Attempts to further delay are ridiculous waste of time and money, and all you need to do is vote yes to the proposed new location. Thank you.
Deb Harker?
Hi, good evening. Deborah Harker. I live in Middletown Township, Tarrytown Estates, and I'm a banker. 5 years ago, it's already been 5 years, that MAST came to this board with its application. And the board, although different members sat at that time, declined the application. We went through the appeals process because we really felt that we had merit to our application, and court after court after court has found that Neshaminy's objection to the charter was without merit. We reaffirmed public support by, after the decline of the charter, we went out and gathered 1,300 signatures of Neshaminy taxpayers and residents to show that this support is something that the community desires to bring to our school district. At this point, as Jen said, the only real decision is on a building. The charter has been approved by, I believe, it was this sitting board that the charter was approved after the state Supreme Court ordered you to sign the charter. We found a location, which is wonderful, but we do need you to approve that location. After 5 years of appeals, it's kind of obvious that the buildings that we had found 5 years ago are now no longer available. So it's an unfair expectation that this board has decided to put that obligation on us to try to open within one of the buildings that we identified 5 years ago. A lot has changed over the past 5 years. The Oxford Valley location I can see as quite desirable. It's a blank canvas. It can be an innovative space for our students and a great addition to our community, to a mall that has been struggling. And the one thing that I think is important is that the school will be annexed to the building but won't have any mall access, and I think that's important to the safety of our students. And so as you take those things into consideration tonight, I ask you to please approve our building and allow us to start in the fall with our students. Thank you.
Kelly Coppola?
Hi, my name is Kelly Coppola, and I live in Oakford. This is my daughter, Brianna. I'm a homeowner, a taxpayer, a voter, a graduate of Neshaminy, and a mother of 2 students that attend Neshaminy schools. My concerns are about outsourcing the bus drivers. We want to keep the bus drivers, Neshaminy employed, in our community. Most of the drivers live in our community, they know our children, and they truly care about them. Safety is our first priority. We don't want any outsourced bus drivers at all. We have too many already. Can they give the same quality service for a lesser price? I don't think so. From what we've seen drunk drivers, we've seen outsourced bus drivers that leave the kids, they've walked away from the buses. We've found a prime example, they've gotten lost and driven all over the place. My daughter's actually had to tell the bus driver where to go. They don't wait for the children to sit down before leaving, and the children have fallen, they've gotten hurt. They drive way too fast. And just the other day, we saw a Neshaminy bus driver go through, and I know it was not a Neshaminy employee, go through 2 red lights. My youngest daughter, 2 years ago, there was an outsourced bus driver, and the children were being loud, and he told them exact words: if you don't sit down and shut up, we're going to take you back to school, and you're going to have to walk home. Well, that day, 20 kids came off the bus crying, and we didn't understand why. We took this up, and they said that they reviewed the tapes, and that was never said. But from what I understand, there's no audio on the buses. So why would 20 elementary school children come off the bus crying with the same exact story? Nothing was ever done. My daughter was extremely upset that day. They said they reviewed the tapes, but I don't understand. And when we do not have the normal bus drivers, a lot of times the kids are getting home up to an hour late because they don't know the routes. So I just would hope that we would keep our Neshaminy school bus drivers and not outsource. And I know a lot of the people that could not come tonight feel the same way. And my daughter would just like to speak very quickly. What happened on the bus? You are.
Hello, I'm Brianna Capola. A couple years ago, we were driving, not us, but the bus driver was driving, and we were getting onto the bus. And she gave us like 2 seconds to sit down before she pulled away. There was a boy that didn't get enough time to get seated, and he fell forward and cut his lip.
What should we do?
This is why we should not outsource the bus drivers. Thank you.
Mary Brookshaw?
Good evening. My name is Mary Brookshaw. I live in Langhorne. I'm an administrative assistant, a taxpayer, and a registered voter. I'm here to urge you not to outsource the Neshaminy School District bus drivers. Are you aware that 85% of the bus drivers are your neighbors? Are you aware that the bus drivers who live in this district also spend money in this township and district? Do you realize that if you outsource your neighbors' jobs, you will be cutting their paychecks? And by doing so, you will damage their families financially, not to mention destroying their retirement security that we all enjoy right now. Not only will outsourcing the bus drivers hurt them and their families, it will hurt the students as well. The students that you were elected to protect and serve. Our students have been riding these buses with many of these drivers for years. The drivers know our kids and their families. Our drivers care about our kids. The bus drivers are the first school district employees our kids see every day and the last person to see at the end of their day. Our kids feel protected and safe knowing they are cared for and safe by these drivers. Please do not outsource these bus drivers. These companies that you're outsourcing with are for profit only. They don't care about these kids, as you just heard. And I'll refer to the district beliefs where you say all people have worth. That includes our bus drivers as well and our kids, and they deserve our bus drivers, not outsource people that don't care about them. Thank you.
John Sawyer? John Sawyer?
Hi, my name is John Sawyer. I'm the CEO of Mass Charter School and the original applicant for the Mass Neshaminy Charter. First off, I want to thank Superintendent Jones for taking the time in the fall to have a discussion and answer some of the questions with me in regards to Neshaminy. We had offered a little bit of background tonight in regards to initial interest in Neshaminy school buildings, which we were informed were no longer available as properties. When we originally applied, we had submitted through the appeal process for 4 locations. After the 3 courts, which took a very long time, obviously those properties are no longer available. And I think there's a little bit of a background to what people in Neshaminy don't necessarily understand about charter schools in general is that they offer a choice. We're not necessarily here to be, we're here to be more of a partner to the district and an option to the district. Vanilla and chocolate, Google and Apple. Parents make a choice and for different reasons. And Mass has a specific focus that the state felt 6-0 against Neshaminy School District at the time, different school board, that this was a valid choice. We didn't come to Neshaminy because we picked it off of a map and said, we want to go to Neshaminy. We went there because there were people that wanted us, residents that wanted us. We had 1,000 signatures, and so we were able to qualify that at the state. We run a legitimate program in Philadelphia that had 15,000 applications between 2 schools that we currently run there, and a third that was approved last week in Philadelphia. And this application was actually way before those 2 schools, before we were running charters. Tonight's vote for you as a school board is really just an updated property because there's no property available that we initially submitted with the appeal. And really, we're just asking for you to consider the property that we're putting in. And if, from my standpoint, there's nothing wrong with the property, it should be approved and we should be able to move forward and stop paying legal fees to fight you. And not knowing any of you really as on the school board and not necessarily knowing you, Superintendent, we would be willing to go to the table as we were in the fall and have a discussion about how we could fit in the Neshaminy School District best, but we're not going away. Our goal is not to go away. So whatever we have to do to open this school for those original parents that wanted us and the parents that are still with us, we're going to do it. And there's legal fees to both sides of that, taxpayer money in the Neshaminy School District that we feel like should stop at this point after 5 years. And again, it's a school choice. It's not necessarily Neshaminy's district's choice. It's a choice that's public in Pennsylvania under the school law. Thank you.
Mark Morford?
Good evening. My name is Mark Morford, and I'm the solicitor for Mass Neshaminy Charter School. I've been for some years. And I am here to comment on the agenda item 9.01, which, and to follow up on John's comments, I think there's a little bit of confusion about exactly what that request is, and we reached out to John, my office did, and we've had some discussions with him, but I wanted to come here and share our legal position about where we are legally at this point with the board, because there has been some confusion, I think, about the nature of the letter Mr. Sawyer sent and the request that's before the board right now. This isn't a request for an amendment to a charter, and this is not a request for a new charter. This is a request to essentially reach an agreement with the school district. It's Mass Neshaminy Charter School's position that, this charter was granted by the State Charter School Appeal Board back in January of 2016. And under the charter school law, that gave the district 10 days to sign a charter at that time. And the district did not do that. And it's our position that that turned jurisdiction over to the State Charter School Appeal Board with respect to the charter. Instead of signing a charter at that time, the district decided to appeal, as it had the right to do. And those appeals were resolved by the Supreme Court denying the appeal back in May. And at that time, we went back before the State Charter School Appeal Board with the request that they sign a charter for Mass Neshaminy, and they held a conference call with the solicitors on it and the State Charter School Appeal Board solicitor, and they said, hey, we'll rule on this if we have to, but we'd prefer for you guys to go work it out. And that's what we've been trying to do ever since. And this most recent letter is just part and parcel of that, as John said, obviously given the passage of time involved with the appeals that were filed by the district. Those facilities that were previously contemplated aren't available, but there is a good facility available now that the school can use. And we're here to, look, if we have to go back to the State Charter School Appeal Board and get them involved again, we'll do that if we have to, but we don't want to, as John said. We just as soon at this point stop paying legal fees. And, as much as it's in my interest maybe for those to keep going, we just as soon stop, get together, try to get this resolved, and work with the district, given the information that we've presented with respect to the building. Thanks for your time.
Moving on to routine matters. I would like to make a motion to resolve 2.01 minutes, 2.02 treasurer's report, 2.03 the check register and procurement card purchases, 2.04 budget transfers, 2.05 bids, 2.06 investments, and 2.07 exonerations. Can I get a second? Questions, comments, or observations?
I'd just like to add that after criticizing for so many meetings, that finally our investments are generating some interest income, and hopefully, they will continue to move up moderately, not to cause an inflation issue, but it's glad to see that the taxpayers now are getting at least something back on their investment. So good job. And I also understand our administration has been actively changing the investments as the rates have moved to maximize our yield, which is very nice to hear. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Brings us to item number 3, personnel, administrative. Mr. Piratano.
Resolved that the Neshaminy School Board of School Directors hereby approves the appointment of Dr. Robert McGee to the position of Director of Secondary Education effective July 1, 2018, at a salary of $150,960.
Can I get a second? Questions, comments, or observations? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0.
Dr. McGee's in the back left.
I'd like to congratulate Dr. McGee. Best of luck. That brings us to item number 4, personnel certificated, and that's me. I'd like to make a motion to approve items 4.01, retirements, resignations, and end of assignments. Do it this way. 4.02, leaves of absence. 4.03, revised leaves of absence. 4.04, appointments. 4.05, co-curricular resignations. And 4.06, co-curricular appointments. Can I get? Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any questions, comments, or observations? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 8-0. Item number 5, personnel. Mrs. Hollenbeck?
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 5.01, which are retirements, resignations, end of assignments, 5.02, leave of absence, 5.03, revised leave of absence, 5.04, appointments, and 5.05, co-curricular resignations.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Piratano. Questions, comments, or observations? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay? They all pass 8-0. Educational development, Ms. Boyle.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a 6.01, which is overnight trips, 6.02, K-12 school counseling plan, and 6.03, confidential settlement agreement.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Thank you. Any questions, comments, or observations? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 8-0. Business operations, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
Like to make a motion to approve item 7.01, which is the BCIU number 22, the 2018-19 Programs and Services and Instruction Material and Research Services budget. 7.02, which is Sunday facility usage, and 7.03, acceptance of donations.
Can I get a second?
Point of order first. I meant to bring this up in executive session, but I would like to vote on 703 separately, make sure the organization gets the appreciation that it deserves.
So we will, we need a second on 7.01 and 7.02.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Feather. Any questions, comments, or observations? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 8-0. 7.03, could you read that, Mrs. Hollenbeck?
Surely. Whereas the Neshaminy Kids Club has offered to donate $2,224.80 to purchase 2 basketball backboards per school for Walter Miller Elementary and Albert Schweitzer Elementary. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves to accept the aforementioned donation from the Neshaminy Kids Club.
Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Kovacs. Questions, comments, or observations?
I just want to thank the Neshaminy Kids Club again. Year after year, they continue to reinvest in our kids and provide them with activities and the equipment so that the kids can enjoy themselves before and after school. And they're a first-rate organization, and we appreciate their continued involvement in Neshaminy.
Thanks, Steve. Mrs. Boyle, policy?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve 8.01, which is Board Policy Series 600, which is Finance, and 8.02, Retirement of Existing NSD Policies.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Puritano. Questions, comments, or observations?
I just want to verify for the retirement of existing Neshaminy School District policies, that they will be archived and we will be able to retrieve them, whether on the board or in the public. They're still going to have access to them if they want to reference them for some reason.
Yes, we've already begun that retirement process, and they're available on the website.
I just wanted to confirm.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 8-0. Okay, that brings us to other board business. Only one item here. It's the Mass Charter School application for revision to existing charter or application for new charter. Resolved that the Neshaminy Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby directs the district solicitor to seek written clarification from Mass Neshaminy as to the exact request being made of the board, and be it further resolved that a hearing date on this matter be set to occur at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Neshaminy Board of School Directors scheduled for Tuesday, March 27th, 2018, with a start time of 7 p.m. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Allen. Questions, comments, or observations?
Excuse me, Bob. One question of our solicitor, and I'm actually a little confused by the remarks made by the solicitor for Mast in his recount of the timeline of any dispute. The way I understood his remarks at the podium were that, they tried to work something out with us, and using the state agency as some type of mediator. I was under the impression that we awarded an official charter at an official board meeting to Mass for 4 specific facilities. Am I incorrect?
You're not incorrect. You're accurate, Mr. Puritano. It was issued as required by the court order.
All right, thank you.
Although I understand, I acknowledge what the ramifications would be to introduce MAST into the district and how it would affect the district in certain ways.
I'm not completely opposed to MAST because I do believe in competition. However, I also believe that the letters of intent and some of the other information that we've received recently are somewhat ambiguous. And I do believe that this hearing will open up the opportunity for us to have further discussions and be able to work this out. And hopefully we can move forward and make sure that we're doing what is absolutely right for the entire school district. So I guess I lost my train of thought, and I apologize for that. But I do believe that this is not a terrible thing for the district, but I don't know if we should move forward tonight voting on this location without having further discussions and without being able to work on certain aspects of this moving forward. So I hope that we can discuss this further and make sure that we're doing what's right.
Mr. Kovac?
Yeah, I know I'm one of the new kids on the block here, but, and I know this has been going on, this discussion's been happening before I came on board. I guess my question is for our solicitor or for one of the other members. Should this go through and we move forward, how does this affect the taxes in terms of the school taxes, township taxes?
If the charter school, Mass Charter, it moves into the Sears building at the Oxford Valley Mall, then it would come off the tax rolls. There would be no real estate taxes paid by Mass Charter for that location.
So, and any idea, can you give me an idea, do we know how much that would mean to us?
I don't know
It comes off
exactly
the rolls?
because you have the county number, you have the township number for taxes, and you also have the school district number as well. My understanding is that the letter of intent was for $9.6 million. I don't know if that's going to be the final sale price or not, so it could go up, it could go down. I couldn't really say.
So even if it's some fraction of that, I mean, that's off of the tax rolls for the school district? It's off the tax rolls for the township as well?
That's correct. The county, township, and the school district.
Okay, I mean, that's considerable amount of money that's off the books. I mean,
Based upon speculating on a number of $9.6 million, I think it's about $125,000 to $135,000 of revenue based on millage for the school district.
just for the school district alone?
Correct.
So I would assume then that if that goes away, that means that all of us here who are taxpayers would have to assume a bigger chunk of the pie, all in the name of school choice. Is that correct?
I'm not exactly sure how it would play out with other parts of the district, but with respect to that property, there would be no school taxes being paid, so.
Okay. Thank you. I just have a hard time seeing the choice here when it means that our taxes are going to basically go up as a result.
Anyone else?
Just one other comment. Currently, the property in question is a retail commercial property, part of the Oxford Valley Mall. And do they pay their tax as a total, or does each individual property pay their tax individual, or is it a total amount from the one area?
The way I understand it is that Sears pays their own real estate taxes to the local tax collector.
As well as the mercantile and business privilege tax, too. Right, okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you, John. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0.
May it please the board, my name is Mike Fitzpatrick. I'm a partner in the Obermayer Law Firm here in Bucks County and a longtime resident taxpayer of Neshaminy School District. I'm here representing John Parsons, Busselton Services, who is one of the contracted entities in charge of building the school buildings. And what's ironic is during the course of the litigation between Neshaminy School District and Mast Charter School, which goes back to about 2012, I believe. I think it was 2013 when the Neshaminy School District eventually denied the charter for the first time before it went to the Charter Appeal Board and was reversed. John has been able to construct several buildings for Mass Charter and other organizations in the region. I want to give a little bit of local flavor as well because I grew up in this area. I think many of you have heard that the Oxford Valley Mall is in that area under potential total rebuild. For those of us who grew up in the area, we saw full parking lots, we saw full retail establishments. A lot has changed over the number of years, and we have an opportunity, I think, in working together to try to turn that around. And I know that Mass Charter and John Parsons want to be part of that. As I indicated earlier, and John Sawyer has indicated that what's before the board in the vote that you just had is not necessarily an application by Mass Charter for an amendment of the charter. What they were requesting is a simple location change. And the reason for the location change is during the course of 2012 until 2018, 4 buildings that were under some form of agreement or equitable agreement with John Parsons were either leased out or sold while the litigation was going on through no fault of his own and during a lot of expense being paid. There's a new location that we would like to be able to talk to Neshaminy School District about. As a matter of fact, we've asked for meetings, private meetings, public meetings, whatever it will take in order to work those issues out. Issues that we believe will be to the best interest of the school district, to the local students here in the Neshaminy School District, to the local students in the entire region, from Pennsbury to Marsville to Council Rock to Bristol Township to Ben Salem and Neshaminy School District. We just seek the opportunity to speak to you about that. We just sort of seek the opportunity to simply change the location, which if we had been able to resolve this in 2013 without the litigation that we were required to go through, this would have been done many, many years ago. And so on that request, and I know that the vote has been held already, and John Parsons is here, he can give you the history of many of these different locations. We're just asking an opportunity to sit down and talk to the board, talk to Superintendent Jones on that subject. Thank you.
Yeah. You're here? We're shocked.
Good evening. I'm Steve Rodas. I live in the villages of Flowers Mill. I have one question. I didn't know the Mass School was on the agenda tonight. The agenda I looked at didn't go this far, but that's immaterial, really. My first recollection is this. When they applied for a charter, there was always vacant buildings at the mall. And it seemed to me, since what was formerly Boscov's and everything else has been vacant for probably 10, 12 years, I don't understand why they didn't put that on their application at the time. It would have negated today's problem. But what I want to get to is nobody's really explained this evening what's involved as far as the charter law. I mean, does the charter law require you to have a location listed in your charter every time you may want to file a charter? Or it seems you can go around what may or may not be the law. I don't know what the law is. by just working an agreement between the school district and the charter school. So if you have to put it with your application, then if the previous application didn't list it, I would suggest that it may be cheaper in the long run to just file another application with a new location, since taxpayers could start going crazy as well. But that's just my observation from being here, and I don't really know what it means by building annexed to the mall. So I thought part of the mall. Okay, well, the Boscos was vacant for years. Thank you.
Anyone else for comment? Public comment? Going once?
Actually, I'd like to speak. Hi, my name is Linda Gargani, and I live in Langhorne. And I actually called Simon Malls today. They are looking into expanding the mall, expanding the restaurants, and building apartments in that area. Because I said we are short on malls. I am for the charter school. I have no problem with that. Doesn't belong there in the middle of a mall. And they're going to be expanding it. And I don't think anybody would seriously think that that will work with a school zone there in the middle of the mall. In Sears, connected to everything. It's a disaster waiting to happen for the children and the community. And that's all I have to say. Linda Gargani. You're welcome.
Thank you. Final call. Any other comments? Brings us to board
My name's John Parsons from BSI Construction. Thank you tonight. Been here before, obviously with other members. It's been a long time in the battle of charter school, public school, and I seem as a developer to go through this whatever districts we go into. Unfortunately, I think a lot of times from an outsider looking in, I build both public schools and charter schools. So from an outsider looking in, sometimes we miss, as adults, the opportunity to educate kids. Not everybody, as I've seen over the past 15 years when I first got into this, I've seen the public school system do a great job with the kids, and I've seen the charter school systems do as well of a job. And with the opportunity of getting Mass, due to the fact that it is a blue ribbon school, it does add good competition. I think the problems that we have faced with Neshaminy on many different locations. We first proposed to move down to Our Lady of Perpetual Help back in 2012. It's an 18-acre site. Your attorneys came down there, told me that we couldn't get it built fast enough. Here we are 5 years later. We went through numerous court hearings, went up to the state, to the Commonwealth, to the Supreme Court, and each time, it was a unanimous decision of granting Mass the charter school. To answer some of the board members' questions, the charter's already been done. It took 5 years for them to get that. It's just now a matter of a location. The last time we presented the locations, the solicitor delayed the timeline. It had to go before the Supreme Court. By the time they got back to us, the economy was shifting and changing. The buildings were off the shelf. Mr. Jones, I think we reached out to you earlier in the summer about perhaps sharing revenue with the district on some buildings that you guys had unoccupied that are just sitting there vacant at the taxpayer's expense. I never got a call back. I was told at that time to, they weren't for rent. I was trying to get the school up and running, not to, again, I know you're new and I know that you were just coming into the mix of it, but I think what we were trying to do is get some type of dialogue to be able to get the school up and running. We thought it would be a nice gesture to try to share revenue with the school district. They're your kids, they're our kids, whatever way everybody wants to look at it. At that time, the school, I think, still sits vacant in the borough of Langhorne. The gentleman who just mentioned about the Oxford Valley Mall,
Finished up, Mr. Parsons, please.
Bosco's being closed. We did propose to try to get Bosco's many years ago. Simon wasn't interested, but today they're excited. They have letters of support on behalf of it, and they believe it's going to be a big development for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to board comment.
I just like to state for the record, Mr. Parsons made mention that the district never got back to him. I specifically recommend the superintendent bringing that issue to us, and I specifically remember the board telling Mr. Jones to follow through, and I've never known Mr. Jones not to follow through. So I would let Mr. Jones speak on his own behalf.
Mr. Parsons, you and I spoke. We did speak. I don't know if you don't recall, but we did have that conversation. But you're accurate. We talked about that piece of property.
Beyond that, I would state that what the board action was tonight on the issue regarding MAST was based upon the letter that was sent to us in the form in which the letter was sent, and that we are, following through with the request on the letter. And until there's more discussion, I don't see how we could make any other ruling other than what we passed tonight. Otherwise, on today's personnel report, I want to state that we had one support personnel that served the district 23 years and was retiring, and another person of our certified staff was serving 32 years and retiring, and the district appreciates your service and to Neshaminy, and I hope you have a great retirement. So other than that, I would thank you, and thank you all for coming out.
I just wanted to congratulate Dr. McGee again. Should be a wonderful addition to the cabinet. And I also want to say good luck to all of the participants in gym night. It's a fun event for anybody that hasn't seen it. It's a fabulous, fabulous event.
I just have a couple quick comments to make here. We've been discussing this charter schools, my previous term and this current term. I believe this motion of the board was to clarify a letter that was sent that quite honestly was a little ambiguous about what you were asking of us. I think we just want time to, put it in writing exactly what you want us to do. You spoke at the podium. I do have a better understanding of it, but, that was now, and then you asked us to vote on it. Just asking for a little more clarification. The winter sports, wow, that was quite a list. It was fantastic. In particular, Rusty, as a, believe it or not, a former track runner myself, a sprinter. I was a sprinter because sprinters are lazy. But as a distance runner, Rusty, I got to say that's phenomenal. And to all the rest of the winter sports, congratulations. And best of luck, gym night. As an outsider in my youth at high school, I spent quite a bit of time building floats that I got no recognition for friends of mine who attended Neshaminy. I know what gym night means. It's quite a phenomenon. It's like no other spirit night anywhere else. So good luck. I can't really say that. I spent a lot of time working on other people's floats. I'll put it that way.
Am I on? I just wanted to congratulate Dr. McGee. I'm very excited to work with you.
So congratulations. Also wanted to highlight AJ McClurkin, won first place at SLOs for the 100-meter breaststroke in swimming. And also wanted to wish everybody good luck at gym night. Go Blue. Good luck, Red. Oh, sorry. My bad.
So two things. First one, I wanted to thank all the people that came out to speak on behalf of the bus drivers. I personally don't feel like I can support any move to outsource any further the bus drivers. Again, I'm one of 9 people on this board, but I simply can't get behind it. I've stated that before. I support our local support union and the bus drivers. My mother was the assistant head of transportation for the school district that I grew up in, and I'm aware of these similar struggles that you guys have. But for whatever it's worth, I won't support anything that would take away from the current level of support that we're giving. I believe that it would continue to destroy our community, and I'm not for that at all. One iota. On to other things. We talk about the track. We talk about the others, but I have a soft spot for the wrestling. My son is on the JV team, and he's working his way up the ranks. But kudos to Coach Mike Stewart. He's worked really hard with those boys on the varsity team, and to Jackson Herb being named champion in the Southeast Regionals. You guys have no idea how hard these kids work. And being a wrestler is an insane sport. Their workouts are insane. I have memories of my wife and I taking our son to, mostly my wife, taking our son to practice Monday mornings, 5:30 in the morning. So congratulations to them and the rest of the athletes. That's it for me.
Okay, I will wrap it up here. I'd like to congratulate Dr. McGee on the new appointment. Welcome aboard. I'd like to thank everyone who came to the podium to speak tonight. I think a couple of my other board members have said that we were looking for clarity based upon what I believe was an ambiguous letter that we received. I'd like to thank Mr. Parsons for clarifying that there is a charter in existence. I think certain people seem to be aware of that either. So there is a charter, and we will back to look at that on the 27th of March. So that's all I have, and with that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Oh, beat me to it.